Does Netflix hate women? Because I gotta be honest with you, with their animation adaptations that they have for video games, it looks like that is the case, and it seems like Netflix is doing what it does best, and that is destroying beloved video gaming franchises. And Devil May Cry is next up on the chopping block, as we're seeing a sneak peek into the animation and overall designs of the characters. Of course, when you come down to the basic Dante character himself, he looks okay for the most part, but a lot of complaints are coming in for some of the female characters within the series. And when you know what Netflix likes to do to specific female characters when their animation counterparts come out, we know Netflix nerfs or overall distorts these characters, and that's what's happening with Lady, a beloved character from Devil May Cry that is looking more mannish than actual ladylike. And I think this is a situation we see oftentimes with a lot of translations of female characters into animation counterparts that occur within Netflix, where we get this manning up of the character where they strip them of all their feminine curves and overall looks and appeals to fit into this modern day progressive outlook on the female body and form. And this is exactly what we're seeing here with Lady. If you don't know who Lady is, she's a specific character that's been in most Devil May Cry games. She's one of the most likable characters. People love this character. Overall personality and impression that she leaves, people like the dynamics between her, Dante, and a lot of other characters. So this is a character that is wildly beloved, and we want to see her kind of in the natural scope of things that we see her in the video games. Now we're getting the opposite of that, and when we know we're getting the opposite of that, we know what Netflix is about to do to one of our favorite characters. And I'm talking about Tomb Raider, which is another character we all loved, where they perverted, distorted the overall meaning of the character to fit into this new line of modern progressive philosophies. And you can see this with some of her male companions who've been churned out into an LGBTQ representative personality rather than a person that had a very strong emotional tie and was very flirtatious with Lara Croft. And we get the opposite in the animation, where it's the main goal to subvert and change the characters to fit a modern day political progressive agenda that has nothing to do with the game itself. And I think that's what we saw with Tomb Raider, and this is what we're seeing with Devil May Cry currently, where we just have these emotional character arcs. We just have this version of Lara Croft that is not the cool, calm, collective, and thoroughly entertaining character. We get someone that's not as engaging as what we once saw in the video games. And that's what I'm expecting to see with Devil May Cry. I don't think Dante is going to be this cool. I think they're going to make him a loser eventually in this overall animation adaptation, because no man is allowed to have any strength or personality that is grander than any other characters in the space of a Netflix animation property. And I think that's the case with a lot of the things that we're going to see in this upcoming adaptation. But looking at the model that has been supposedly leaked, this may be a wrong leak, but this is the development model of Lady, where they just dressed her up. They took away all her feminine curves. Her look is changing, where she doesn't look like a character from the game. If you know her from the games, yes, she's not always provocatively dressed, but you see her right here. She's not fully covered in Gundam uniform attire where she's piloting a giant mech warrior. No, she looks like she's just wearing regular clothes. She has a dynamic personality. Of course, we can't see anything about the personality from the design itself, but it's indicating that we're getting that Netflixification of the character, where we have entertaining, good, strong female character that's still feminine in certain parts. So we're going to see that change into a mannish, annoying, and aggressively emotional character that we just don't like seeing on screen. And of course, because it's Netflix, she'll be an aggressive lesbian as well. And I think that's what we're going to see with Netflix, and that's what we've been proven to see from all Netflix properties for the past 7 to 8 years, where we get all these characters that we once loved turned into a character that we can't stand to see on the bigger screen. And I think such an iconic character that people love from the Devil May Cry series, seeing this kind of perverted and distorted into something else that has nothing to do with the character's overall aesthetics. I never saw Lady wear anything like that. It doesn't even have the iconic white shirt. I know Netflix likes leaving things for the last episode, which is one of the stupidest things, and maybe she'll put on the white shirt in the last minute of the last episode, but who cares? We want to see the original Lady, the Lady we've seen interacting with Dante and just having crazy action set pieces and adventures. We're not going to get that anymore, unfortunately, because Netflix prerogative is hiring people that don't care about the properties that they're producing. And unfortunately, I think that's going to continue on for the most recent future, because all the animation that we're seeing from Netflix has been abysmal, at least from my perspective. I don't think I've seen one good animation. I know people say they like the Castlevania. I never liked the Castlevania one. I know people like the animation there, but the overall inspiration and just the change of the story, it just wasn't something I was connecting with. And I think eventually it bared out because a lot of the same tropes that we did see with Tomb Raider was expressed in Castlevania. And that's why I'm hoping to not see that with Devil May Cry, but it's pretty obvious we're gonna see that. And unfortunately, I don't see where we don't see that. And I love the Devil May Cry series. It's something I would like to see actually upheld and seen made into an animation that was made of high quality, because a lot of the characters are interesting and engaging, but I highly doubt that's going to be the case. We've seen what Netflix does with a lot of the properties that they grab hold of, and I think Castlevania is probably the biggest point, where we had main characters that were made unnaturally weak and annoying. And I think this happens with a lot of the male characters, where I'm like, what did they do to these guys? It just doesn't feel like they were made to actually be a prominent, strong character in their own series, because they're supposed to be subservient to any diverse representative group that they want to put in helm. And I think that's what we saw with this adaptation, especially Nocturne. Felt like it was trying to lean heavy on these modern day progressive values in such a way where it was distracting, at least for me. And I think that is what I expect from Netflix properties nowadays. And of course, along with that, it was very LGBTQ oriented and racial identity politics focused. And I think that's the thing that we saw, especially with Castlevania and the overall environment, which I think it lends itself to, but it went to a point where it just wasn't interesting because you knew where they were going with everything, and it didn't have the creativity to actually reach the lengths of the topics that they want to talk about, because the people that are writing this were more focused on their modern day politics. And that's the failure of people that are not good writers. You don't know where to go besides the things that you want to talk about in real life. And I think that's the massive weakness we're seeing in animation for Netflix, where it's being made by people that can't see outside of themselves. And I think that's what we're seeing with Tomb Raider, where it's being made by people that just want to see themselves in the character that they're creating, or not even creating, that they're hijacking. And I think that's what happened with Tomb Raider and Lara Croft, where it's being hijacked by people that just want to put their own personal thoughts and values and them personally themselves into the game, when people just want to see Tomb Raider, Lara Croft from the video game. And I think that's going to play out with Dante, unfortunately. I know people don't want to hear that, but we have Tomb Raider, the best example of that, just released. Unfortunately, it's even getting a second season, but the second season probably was already pre-made. A lot of the animations get 2 seasons, and I think a lot of people that are looking forward to this Devil May Cry animation, if it's bad, we're gonna get 2 seasons of bad, because that seems to be the standard of ordering 2 seasons for animations. And I think we're gonna see that with Dante and Devil May Cry, and these designs are not very promising. But maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think we'll see an actual high quality version of Devil May Cry in animation form. I highly doubt it, but you tell me. You leave your comments, tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.